Hello and thanks for joining the first edition of Journalist Hangout. This week, I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, Obasanjo, Wike accused federal government of planning to frame them as Lai Mohammed dismisses the allegation as frivolous. Nigerian military vows not to shield errant officers accused of human rights abuses. And later on the show, NAFDAC seizes 35 containers of tramadol at the ports. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Adekunle Yusuf, and Gani Kayode Balogun. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. According to the Yorubas, it is unbefitting of a hunter to abandon his rightful path and shout for help at the market square. Now, that a strange beast is after him. So, when former President Olusegun Obasanjo raised the alarm last Wednesday over plots by the federal government to arrest and detain him using false charges and witnesses, not many took him seriously. Many Nigerians regard it as a ploy by Obasanjo to deflate the goodwill that greeted the Muhammadu Buhari's declaration of June 12 as the new democracy day in Nigeria. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike is also crying loud over similar allegation. Just yesterday in Port Harcourt, Wike said the All Progressive Congress-led federal government has perfected plans to use Lebanese to implicate him in illegal arms procurement. But Information Minister Lai Mohammed dismissed such claims as frivolous. He says those whose hands are not soiled by corruption have no reason to be afraid. Well, Babajide, we experienced this, kind of allegation towards the 2015 election. Now, let's start from Olusegun Obasanjo. There was a time Olusegun Obasanjo said Jonathan was training snipers and what have you in his first letter. Right now, he's talking about Trump of charges and everything. What is happening?
I think it's a consistent pattern from Chief Obasanjo. After writing a letter full of bile against you, the next thing he will imagine in his heart is that you will come for him. So, to deflect any attempt to come after him, he will quickly raise an alarm. They are coming to kill me. Oh, they are coming to do this. Because if you remember, it was in June 2014 that he claimed that Jonathan was training snipers. And that was a lie from the pit of hell. In recent times,
because no political assassination happened that
under
time.
Jonathan, it wasn't happening. It was under Obasanjo that a lot of political assassinations happened. Up to today, unsolved murders, including that of a man that he invited to come and serve in his cabinet. That's Chief Bola Ige. You would think that ordinarily he would do his best to unmask Bola Ige's killers, because he was the one who invited Bola Ige to come and serve in his administration. Bola Ige did not lobby to be his minister. Now, after lying against Goodluck Jonathan, that he had snipers, this and that, he's saying the same thing in the same month of June. He's saying the same thing about this administration. One thing is certain, I don't believe that anybody is above scrutiny, is above prosecution or sanction, as the case may be. Because we see it happen in other lands, and it is our hope, it is our prayer, it is our wish that one day Nigeria will become such a country that nobody will be too big to be brought before a court of law and tried for crimes committed against the state. Because look, when you see it happening in other countries, after all, look at the president of South Africa. He had been accused of corruption, and that up till the time he left office, there was no indictment against him. But they still went ahead and put him on trial for corruption. So what is the big deal if a former Nigerian president is put on trial for corruption? I'm not saying that Obasanjo is corrupt or that he has stolen so much. In any case, I've not really seen what the EFCC has against him. It talks about the fact that he was given a clean bill of health by the EFCC. I've not seen that clean bill of health. I've not seen it to know whether there are lacunas in it that can be exploited. I also do not think that if once you've been given a clean bill of health by an organization in a different administration, that another administration can't have a look. Because we've seen people tried and then retried again and invariably convicted. You know, so it shouldn't be raising this kind of alarms. He has said all kinds of things about this administration. Yes, it is natural for them not to be happy with him. But he has to come out with proof that this is what they want to do against me and all that. We do not believe in all these sources here and there. It's just like a reporter, what to call Agbeleko, what my guy will call Agbeleko. When you see a reporter writing about 17 paragraph story, with no attribution, and all he can say is reliable sources told me, reliable sources told me, just take that story.
You want to remain anonymous.
Tear that story and put it in the trash bin because there's no foundation. So we need concrete proof. Don't come and tell us.
GKB, when you look at it, if Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is raising this kind of alarm, and Nyesom Wike has been saying his own, the first one, he said there's a plan to assassinate him. That's going to be in the crowd. I think that was 2-3 weeks ago, and this one, this Lebanese to implicate him. What do you make? Do you see this government as a government that can, actually go that far in trying to shut down their political enemies?
Well, I think Wike, in his characteristic manner, is just trying to cry wolf. Remember that a couple of weeks ago, he took out a full-page advert against the police, a serving policeman.
He ran it in several newspapers.
Yes, about 10 papers. He
spent so much money.
Billions
Mm.
of money just to malign a serving officer of the Nigerian police. And when you go to the story, all you have are insinuations and innuendos. Nothing concrete, because the way he framed it, you think that he has proof that this is the worst thing to happen to Rivers State since the floods. But we all know the reality that politicians will be politicians. It's an irony of life. That is the same Nyesom Wike, who rode roughshod as a federal minister over the government and peoples of Rivers State for 2 years. That is now crying wolf when the thing now is done. I think what Wike is doing, as well as Chief Obasanjo, is what we call take their own securities and transfer it to the other party. That is things that they have done, or they are capable of doing, and they are now assuming that the other party is also capable of doing the same thing to them, which makes sense, especially when we are talking about a state like Rivers that is truly a war zone, as you and I are aware, where human lives are no longer sacred, and where people do stuff that you don't expect in a civilized society. So, of course, they will make normal noise just to assume that they can block whatever they think is coming. But I don't think we should worry our eyes over that. It's part of politics. It's part of the game that they play so well.
Alhaji Lai Mohammed was quite categorical in his response and he said that much that Chief Obasanjo is coming with this allegation because of this June 12th thing. That, June 12th, the recognition of June 12th is like a master stroke, and Chief Obasanjo in his
Wants
way.
to divert attention.
They want to divert attention from. What do you make of this?
It is very difficult to ascertain the truth. It may be. And look at what Jide just said, that Obasanjo has a consistent, which is true, pattern of how he does his things. You don't forget the letter of that time, and by June of that year. And of course, those who clapped and praised Obasanjo for it that time, they are now at the receiving end. So it's very, very difficult. Of course, nobody is above the law. In Nigeria, we just assume that some set of people cannot be put on trial. And that's dangerous. Everyone, including those currently serving, the day they are no longer clocked in immunity, they can face trial. But my argument will be, sometimes you have to watch the time. General Olusegun Obasanjo was the chief, Olusegun Obasanjo.
Or doctor.
Or doctor, or whatever we call him. If this government has enough proof that you can secure a conviction in court for this or that, please go ahead. But I'm not happy when somebody criticizes you today, then you start talking about trial. No. But as Lai Mohammed said, I'm so glad the way he frames it, that anybody who doesn't have any skeleton in his or her cupboard shouldn't just panic, that this government will not frame on anybody, this government will not put anybody on trial because of political reasons. But if you have evidence or proof against anybody, they will go ahead, no matter how highly placed. That's a wonderful way to frame it.
What will be the implication if this government decides to take on that task of prosecuting General Olusegun Obasanjo if they have enough allegations of infraction against him?
Yeah, if they have weighty allegations against him, I would expect that they first push those allegations out into the public space and make it clear to Nigerians that they have a prima facie case against this man. Once Nigerians can see that, yes, this is indeed a prima facie case against Obasanjo, if they arrest him, there will be some noise over a few days. After a while, Nigerians will know them. After a while, they will stop making all that noise, and people will now focus on the trial. Because I think that the government shouldn't be intimidated. If it is certain that it has goods on Obasanjo, on Atiku, or anybody for that matter, instead of leaving Nigerians to be speculating about the kind of matter that they are likely to bring up against him, they should go ahead, firm up their case, and subject him to trial. People older than him have been brought to trial in the past. People bigger than him have been brought to trial in the past. Pinochet was already in his 90s when he was brought to trial for the mindless killing of Chileans, by the World Court. So that it's no big deal. World leaders have been put on trial, taken away while in office, and put on trial. Remember Manuel Noriega on December 22, 1989, when the American forces invaded Panama and they used him to test their radar evading aircraft for the first time. Tested the radar evading aircraft. They destroyed his air defenses, and the aircraft flew in methodical fashion, undetected. And then they took the president away. He went to hide in the Vatican, but it didn't stop them from arresting him, and they put him on trial, for drug-related offenses. And as soon as he came out of jail, the French were waiting. As Noriega stepped out of jail, the French quickly arrested him so that he can go and face trial in their country as well. That's a world leader, who was in office. So if someone who was in office was put on trial, Someone who is no longer in office, who does not have immunity, can also be put on trial. But by the same token, those who are in office today, President Buhari and his troops, they can also be similarly put on trial. That is what we want to see. It is evidence of a country developing in the right way, that our institutions will be strong enough to hold anyone who tramples on our law accountable.
I have Yakub. Yakub is calling me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Yakub.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Yakub.
Yeah, Babajide, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
And then the two wise men in the studio, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
You see, let me use our own dialect. Babajide, I really value you so much. You see, this country, it is only Nigeria how this thing happened. I believe if we are in a country that our institution is so strong, no matter how highly placed you find yourself, maybe whether you are ex-president or whatever you may be, if our institution is so that strong, there is nobody will begin to lament that the federal government wants to frame you up and all that. If your hand is clean, you have no anything to doubt or to fear for. If the institution come after you, and then they charge you to court, and then go to court and prove them wrong that you are not corrupt. That is that. But for me, what Lai Mohammed say, I think that is the issue. The issue now is that you are president for 8 years, good 8 years. Because of what you had with the MQ Abiola, you did not do the right thing. And then, as I said this morning, somebody from the casino, far away from the southwest, and then he came and did the right thing. In order for you to just carry our mind out of that, and then you are beginning to tell us they want to frame you. Even let them frame you, or if they want to frame, go to the court, clear yourself. As the Babajide rightly said, President Muhammadu Buhari, if he left the office today,
Thank you, Yakub. GKB, look at this scenario. Ruben Abati actually replied former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and in his reply, it took him to the cleaners. And fast forward 2 years after, this is happening, and President Buhari told Femi Adesina, don't have to reply. He's older than you, and he's my colleague, senior colleague in the military. And Lai Mohammed insisted in writing the reply, and the president said he saw it.
He disobeyed.
He disobeyed me. He saw it, and
It's not the first one. It's not the first
and it's okay.
Probably won't be the last.
But look at the measure of the reply. It seems this administration is trying to correct what the last administration actually got wrong. Because if they had not written, if Lai Mohammed had gone ahead to insult Olusegun Obasanjo, that would have, heated the politics.
As Africans, as Yoruba, there's something we call Wonle Buagba. There are many ways to insult an elderly person without even insulting at all. And what Lai Mohammed wrote is even more powerful in the context of our culture than what Ruben Abati did 2 years ago. Ruben was frontal. He was attacking the person. This one was more subtle. And it's only for people to decode. Because if you are telling an 80-year-old man that he's just serving, he's just throwing tantrums, let me use that word, basically to serve as a diversion. That's a job for 2-year-olds, what in biology they call the terrible twos. When you have a 2-year-old child and you take attention away from them, they tend to throw tantrums just to bring back attention to themselves. So it's in that level of something that you have to judge the two reactions. Ruben Abati was firing from all cylinders. But what Lai Mohammed is doing is trying to let you know that we know where you are coming from. We are used to these narcissistic demands. We are used to this game you play. And this is what we are going to do. We are going to keep you at arm's length. We are not going to reply you in kind. We have to remind people that this is who you are. And this is the kind of person. That's why everybody will know, like they call the Yoruba fable about the in-laws of the tortoise. When the way out was theirs and the return was that of the tortoise. That's what really happened here.
Adekunle Yusuf, even this allegation actually got reaction from people like Atiku Abubakar, who we know before now he has not been in much relationship with Olusegun Obasanjo, but Atiku Abubakar is sympathizing with Olusegun Obasanjo. And let's look at Fayoshe's reply too.
You see, let's be very honest. We are in the season of politics. We are in the season, in a political season, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Your friends today.
Okay, let me quickly take. Josephine is calling us from Aja. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, so thank you, my correct journalist Hangout
Thank you, madam.
program people.
Thank you.
I want to greet you and thank mostly Babajide, although I differ with some of his comments, but he's doing the right job.
Thank you.
Well, my own take is Obasanjo. This man is always looking for relevance. He's the one that brought us to this stage we are now. If the government can do anything, he said, whatever you say, your mouth is a powerful weapon. Whatever you say, you will have it. He said, even that men didn't live with them these days. Obasanjo has caused us as a country pain. So he should just rest his case. He's just looking for relevance. Nobody will answer him. Nobody will answer him again because he's the one who did the same thing to Jonathan. And from Bayelsa, what he did to us, we are not happy today. He framed Jonathan, he demarcated him all over everywhere. He has started again. So what is he looking for? At his age, if you go and arrest, even all of them, including the president now, they are generals that you go and arrest. They should not be something for
Josephine.
power. We want a fresh ideas.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution, madam.
Yeah, we're in a political season. So this issue about replying this, keeping me on trial, if I were to advise this administration, this is not the right time for that. Focus on the purpose of which you are elected. Obasanjo is not a new name in Nigeria. He didn't leave office last year. You have been in office for 3 years. If you have had enough reasons to jail Obasanjo, most Nigerians will be happy. But not at the time when he started criticizing you. Focus on your re-election. Focus on the primary objective for which you are elected. Jide said if he is arrested, believe me, for a government that is seeking re-election, it will cause more katakata. Which I don't want. Go into re-election, face, must you reply this man all the time? When you reply on Obasanjo, you are adding certain things to what he wanted. You don't have to give him. He wants relevance. By the time you are replying, look at the way, I was totally in support the way Lai Mohammed replied him. Not the Ruben Abati, I don't want to say Motor Park response. But let Obasanjo write another letter, he's still going to eat up the polity. Ignore if you can. The ones that you should correct, go ahead and correct. If you want to try now Obasanjo today, many Nigerians will be saying, okay, is it because he's talking? What about this president? What about this former president? You don't have to, distractions, avoid them.
Do you agree, Ayofayoshe actually said his own, that what goes around comes around? That Obasanjo, if truly you have a case to answer, please attend to it.
No, because Fayoshe has not forgiven him for the role he played in
His impeachment.
His illegal impeachment, because that impeachment is not known to law.
Was nullified by
It's not known to law because the Supreme Court at that time affirmed that the process was wrong. And even when Fayemi tried to bring it up in his battle to
it backfired.
to win that to win the re-election through the courts, the Supreme Court still said that Fayoshe's impeachment at that time is not known to our law, because it's not known to our legal records, because it was illegal, because the House sacked the Chief Judge and brought in their own Chief Judge, which is wrong. They do not have the power to sack a Chief Judge. So whatever they did after that was illegal. So that's that. Obasanjo offended Fayoshe, and Fayoshe has stood up to him publicly before the 2015 election, when people were lamenting that Obasanjo was going to leave the PDP. He said good riddance to bad rubbish. He stood up to him. He told them not to go to beg him, because what they failed to realize at that time was that every time they went to prostrate, they were wasting their time. Obasanjo had made up his mind that he would not forgive them. He finds it difficult to forgive people. So the PDP people were going there, the governors were going, and what Fayoshe said eventually was what prevailed. So Fayose has his reason for mocking him now. Whatever fate befalls Obasanjo, whatever is going through at this time, once it is not palatable, it is joy.
For Fayose.
It is joy. In fact, it pushes Fayose to raptures when he sees Obasanjo going through hell, especially in the hands of a government that it tried its best to ensure that they come to power. What this government is trying to do, in my view, is to show Obasanjo that you've always run down governments. But in this case, we will make sure that you do not succeed. You know, because mostly, as far as I'm concerned, Jonathan didn't confront Obasanjo enough. You are president, for God's sake. He didn't really take him on. For example, when he began to really say he was going to leave the party, they should have called his bluff. But they think they were begging him all over the place and he eventually disgraced them. This administration is not prepared to do that. All they are after is finally succeed in deconstructing Obasanjo. And how will Obasanjo be deconstructed? If this government succeeds, does well, impresses Nigerians enough, and they get re-elected in spite of the efforts of Obasanjo, Obasanjo's mouth will be put in the permanent position of shut up. Apologies to Zebudaya. That is what will happen. He will lose the clout. He will lose the clout that he used to have. He will lose that clout. He will no longer be able to bring down governments the way he had done in the past. And I think that is what they are focused on.
I think I have a caller. Thank you for joining us. Bolaji is on the line.
Yeah, yes.
From Kogi State. Thank you, Bolaji. Thank you for joining us.
From Ebenekun from Kogi State.
All right.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, my regards to everyone in the studio there.
I greet you too.
Yeah, my brother, Olaji to talk to you. I greet you.
I greet you. Greet you.
Please, I want to chip in something into this program.
Please, quickly.
Is that Yoruba will say, only Obe This,
báwo ló ṣe mọ̀ pé ò ní yọ̀?
Yes, only Talojobeje, Olobetu ò ní yọ̀. It's unwanted. He's all crying before. Is Obasanjo too big to be prosecuted? Obasanjo doesn't have two heads. Why is he crying? If Obasanjo does not have any skeleton in his cupboard, you are really at it to wait and let us see the outcome of everything. And started crying that they want to prosecute him. There are many people in this country, even after this country have been prosecuted in the past, many past presidents have been prosecuted, and we'll see the outcome. If Obasanjo does not have anything in his cupboard, he should not be crying foul now. For crying loud, we're all Nigerians. Fine, he was president so many times. Many ordinary citizens have been prosecuted on daily basis in this country, and with that,
Everyone did not fall.
Thank you, Bolaji. GKB, your final take on this?
Well, I think the government should be advised mainly to let Obasanjo be and face why they elected. Their results will automatically nullify the Obasanjo factor.
Even if they have anything to prosecute Obasanjo on, they should just do it purely through the rule of law, not political trial.
Purely through the rule of law and not political trials. Still to come, Nigerian military vows not to shield errant officers accused of human rights abuses. We'll be right back after this breather. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Journalist Hangout, reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. The Nigerian military is undoubtedly facing one of its worst moments. Apart from waging war against insurgency, the nation's military is also quelling internal crises like herdsmen, menace, and armed banditry across the country. Even when such domestic assignments are outside the core duty of the armed forces, they are to protect territorial integrity of the country against external aggression. Added to this is the need for the military to clear itself of various allegations of professional misconduct and human rights violations leveled against its officers fighting insurgency. The military high command has vowed to embark on a self-cleansing It says it will not shield errant officers accused of human rights abuses from punitive measures. But if you look at the reports from Amnesty International in the last 3 years or so, consistently, since the beginning of the war against insurgency, they've been complaining about the tactics of the Nigerian army. And anytime you listen to Nigerian army talking, they try to say that these are deliberate attempts to erode their gains in the war against insurgents in the Northeast. What is happening? Why is the Nigerian military always attracting the attention of Amnesty International in terms of human rights violations?
You see, I will not say that the soldiers do not occasionally misbehave. It's normal in this kind of operation. And that's why some of us have always asked for constant rotation of these soldiers. Look at the soldier who in Yola killed a captain and other people and then took his own life. We had been in that place for so long, for more than a year.
Mental fatigue.
You cannot see your members of your family. You start going through mental torture.
Trauma.
Real torture. You ask yourself, why am I even here? It happened even during the Gulf War. Some American soldiers turning their guns against fellow soldiers. Some of the Arab soldiers fighting on the side of America, they turned their guns against them, killed them. Some of the American soldiers that they were together with, they turned their guns against them. Remember even the the American soldier who exterminated an entire family after raping an 11-year-old girl. So these things happen. Occasional misbehavior. I'm happy that General Hajim also talked about a Nigerian soldier who wasted 5 civilians for no reason. Just killed 5 civilians, and then he was court-martialed. So there are all kinds of infractions. Rather than busy themselves saying, oh, Amnesty International has done this, has done that. I know that a lot of the Amnesty reports are usually a recreation of what they had earlier written. Kind of photostating what they had earlier written and all that. You know, a simple rehash of what they had earlier written, and they don't ever give any credit to our troops. They talk about human rights abuses, whereas Boko Haram, by its satanic actions, continue to breach the rights of the people in the cells that they are in control of, where they have their cells. So, but you don't talk about that. You just focus on the military all the time. You know, reinventing allegations earlier raised 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So the revenge that the army can exert against Amnesty International is to be focused, is to be disciplined, concentrate on rescuing as many Nigerians as possible from the grip of the enemy. Because I was happy when the army said that in the last 3 years, they have rescued more than 20,000 Nigerians from the hands of Boko Haram. That way, people will see clearly what the army is doing. That is the best revenge. When someone focuses on trying to bring you down, success is the best revenge. You know? Success is the best revenge against that kind of person. So they should focus on what they are doing and do it in a disciplined manner. That way, people will not give attention to what Amnesty is saying. And within their ranks, they should purge their ranks of irresponsible soldiers, soldiers who do not have discipline. Of course, it's not possible that you will not have them. If they say that, oh, in this war they do not have them, they don't have bad eggs, they don't have even bad commanders, then they are lying. So they should focus on purging the army and give us an army that we can be proud of, an army that is noted for discipline. The routine stories about soldiers torturing people and all that, we don't want to hear. If there was a speech that Najatu Mohammed made some time ago, that I was listening to, and Lai Mohammed was saying that the Nigerian army contributed to the swelling of Boko Haram ranks by the killing of some innocent youths in Maiduguri, that he forced some of them to now in anger, you know, it's like you came to your family, killed like 2 or 3 people, now force them to go and join the Boko Haram.
So fight the military.
Yeah, to now fight the military. It happened even in Iraq, it happened. Many of those who later became terrorists, they became terrorists as a way of fighting back, you know. Some of them were detained in Abu Ghraib prison, even where American soldiers were sodomizing people. They came out of prison and then became terrorists. So they should just focus on discipline and focus on doing the job in a very disciplined manner. They should be focused. That way, nobody will even give Amnesty any attention.
Because this issue with Amnesty International, why are they always...
because we are a signatory to the Geneva Convention, basically. That gave them the right to tell us what to do in what situations. Because if we are not a signatory, if you remember, the US itself most of the time criticized for things that they do on the war front. So basically, it's a byproduct of our attempts to belong to the international community. But having said that, we must also realize that simply because we are fighting barbarians does not mean that we have to become one. I know during the war situation, people tend to forget certain levels of civility. But this is an organized army. They are not guerrilla army. They are not militia.
They are not Boko Haram.
They are not Boko Haram. So there are certain things expected.
Do not go the way of Boko Haram.
There are certain things expected.
Rules of engagement.
Level of conduct.
They have rules of engagement.
Of a regular army. That Amnesty International will come in, and it's those areas that they will concentrate on and criticize. Again, it's not peculiar to Nigeria. If you remember, there was a US soldier in Iran, because he was trained as a sniper, and he never had time to shoot anybody. On the day he was recalled, he climbed the roof and was shooting everybody inside. Because they said he didn't have time to test the things he was trained for. He was a sniper that was never be able to snipe at anything. So on the last day of tour of duty,
Is this how we go back without...
I can't go back home without killing somebody. So that's why they call it tour of duty. And they don't allow people to rotate quickly so that they don't get accustomed to an area, you don't get accustomed to the problem of the area, you don't become part of the problem. But because of the level theaters of war that the Nigerian army is facing today, it stretches their resources to such an extent that sometimes soldiers stay on one spot for 2, 3, 4 years, which is bad. Bad for morale, bad for intelligence, even bad for discipline. Because those people now become smugglers and become businessmen.
Traders.
In that area.
Some of them are selling cows.
And they now become pimps.
And some of them are selling fish in Baga.
So it's never really happened.
Look at the IDPs. We were told that even some of these military guys, you know, harass the teenagers and the women in those camps.
Believe me, I feel sad for the military because we give them a lot of responsibilities that they shouldn't even be part of.
Honestly.
In a very normal situation.
National security is not their job.
Armed robbery is taking place in a place, you are calling the military. You see some social miscreants disturbing the peace of, you must call the military.
Okay, look at this footage now.
You now have to ask, what is the role of all other security agencies, like the DSS, the police, the
anti-riot police?
We have overburdened the military so much that when all these things happen,
I doubt if you can even attend to any external aggression now.
Believe me,
the way they are so stretched.
And we believe all the problems are military problems. They must be solved. The soldiers must solve all these problems. Soldiers must be part of it. Believe me, there are things that other security agencies can handle, but it's like we have, resigned to fit that all these security problems must be confronted by the military. So when some of these things happen, you just have to. But the soldiers don't help themselves too. You go to the market, you see a soldier fighting civilians. You see a soldier, they say this is not the right of way. You will face the traffic and nobody can talk to him. They will stop a soldier, they will say, who are you? You know, they believe they are on top, above the law and all those things. If the rule of engagement at the war theater is different, well, what about the civil society here? So many of these things are part of what gives the soldiers a problem. But I must give it to the military. If you find any case and you report today, they deal with their officers. They don't condone indiscipline again. Unlike in the past, if you see anyone, if you are able to document it, just bring it up. So I give them kudos for this.
I will readily verify that, Jide.
That
As the military guys want to really clamp down their on
the bad eggs.
The bad eggs.
If you remember the irresponsible soldier who beat up a crippled man. You know, and when we did the story, we discussed it here, and the thing went viral. They punished the guy. They first detained him. They detained him and then dropped one of his ranks. Was demoted. You know, that's the word. Was demoted. So that's what we want to see. We want an army that we can be proud of, not impunity, not a Bole Kaja kind of army that nobody wants to see. Americans, when they see their soldiers, they're always proud. They want to snap pictures with their soldiers. They want to wear the uniform of their U.S. Marines because they are proud to associate with the U.S. Marines.
You're right.
In Nigeria, when they see you wearing fatigue, it's an opportunity.
They said, you know,
it's an opportunity to arrest
fatigue.
You know, so it's the army has to subordinate itself to the civil society, and the army has to show greater discipline.
Alidi is calling us from Kogi State. Thank you for joining us. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Go on.
We greet you. Talk.
Yeah. My greeting goes straight to Babajide.
I greet you. How is my former state?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
I said I'm looking forward to make Babajide vice president to Buhari.
Abba. What will Osinbajo be doing?
Hold on, I have my reason. I will make I'll make
He's not interested.
Osinbajo is doing a fantastic job.
Prof is doing a big
And
job.
I'm very proud of Osinbajo. He's one of my favorite Nigerians. I don't want to take his job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, stemming the menace of illicit and fake drugs in Nigeria is assuming bigger dimension. The Harder Drug Control Agency fights to get such dangerous substances out of unwanted hands. The more they find their way into circulation. So when the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, that's NAFDAC, Professor Moji Adeyeye, announced the seizure of 35 containers of restricted drug, that's tramadol, at various ports in Nigeria, we heaved a momentary sigh of relief. But Professor Adeyeye said the agency was able to destroy only 9 containers released to it by the Nigerian Customs Service out of 35. 9. The professor of pharmacology decried the delay by the customs in handing over the rest for destruction. We hope the remaining won't develop wings and vanish into the thin air.
Science students.
Man.
Science students.
I don't know.
I don't think that.
I think it's
Science students in
maybe in the last 2 years. It was recently I started hearing of this tramadol, and when Olamide sang his song, the science student, and when you look at the people, the way our youths go into drugs now, and I now ask, what is tramadol?
He doesn't know.
You didn't know
No,
about
earlier. When did you get to know about tramadol?
I've had opportunity of investigating drug abuse, drug addicts, treatment, and all that. If you travel to the north, especially among the middle class and the elite, women especially, their bags you will see minimum of 6. Or almost everybody, and it's a big problem.
It's epidemic.
The men have numerous ones they do, but the women, women try to be more decent in certain things. Do you have the club? And when you see them, some will sip 4 bottles at a go, 2, 3 at a go. If you go to places in Kaduna, you see, especially if you go to Regasa, there's a big treatment center where they treat people with
withdrawal symptoms.
What you will see there, you see sons of former head of state,
Now you are
former
confusing
governor.
me. You said they will sip it.
How do they consume it?
No, I thought tramadol.
It's a tablet.
They will
crush it.
Oh. You will see.
It does like Rufinol. They will crush it and then put it in water and drink.
And they put it in bottles and they go along with it. You won't know. Some, they put it in like bottle water.
You see those children, those young people with Coke or something. It's not Coke. They have codeine inside. They have tramadol inside. Well, you will see them holding a bottle. But if you watch, you see foam on top of the juice that they are drinking. You see foam. So that should tell you that there is codeine in it. It's a very big problem.
This is not unknown. This is not unknown to the NDLA. The NDLA is aware of all this. They've been trying to do all this, but it's just like they have their own problems.
All agencies does.
The NDLA that should fight this, they have their own
and they
problems.
are not well funded.
They are, number one, they are just too few to handle this kind of population. 2, they are, among all paramilitary agencies, they are the worst funded. Over the years.
And they get killed. They get killed by this drug.
Over the years, they are the worst funded. You will see the morale is generally poor. If you see what happens in the NDLA now, you will even pity them. So when we talk about drug abuse, drug menace, it gets worse every day.
We are in the middle of an epidemic.
Yes, that if we do not attack.
I
Someone
don't think I'll do it in 15 minutes. It's something that we should do properly. Because a major concern, especially in the northern part of Nigeria.
Yes.
They are killing, the epidemic is killing the young, as it were. The number of poverty is already there. Now coupled with this level of...
You know why this kind of drug is consumed in disturbing proportion in the north. In the north, you can't drink beer in the open. At least outside Fulani people,
especially in most
religion forbids it.
Yes.
And there are only a few areas where you can drink. Sabongeri. So you can't drink beer in the open. Yet they want to feel high. So all they do is consume this codeine and the rest of them, including even sniffing dung of lizards, wall gecko.
Yes.
Wall gecko and lizard. So for them, once they hold that little bottle of Coke, it's their own beer, and they get high just drinking it, and nobody will suspect. You see, because Kano, for example, there is a very high rate of divorce, and a lot of those young people who had been divorced, they just take to a life of drugs. Before now, codeine addiction was not common in the Southwest, but in the last 2-3 years, it has really grown. On Environmental Sanitation Day, you see dozens and dozens of bottles of codeine in the Lagos drains. They just throw them in the drains for people to come and evacuate. It's a big problem. And then tramadol. Normally, tramadol is supposed to be a prescriptive drug.
And codeine.
Just like codeine as well. But these guys get to buy tramadol without caring about the effects, the negative effects that it has, because it also destroys the brain. It can make you go numb. It can make you get drowsy unnecessarily. It can make you lose consciousness. You know, it can make you lose consciousness.
Breaks you down.
You know, so they consume it, and our musicians too continue to sing. Remember that boy that sang the song? Tramadol, Lure of No, Loke Aladdin. So it's already, so for the one who wants to consume drug, he has already told him.
You didn't see 5 times.
You're also telling them now.
He's already telling them that this is the way
to go.
That once you take it,
to be high.
That you just be in another realm.
No, they like the feel good factor. The feel
multi high.
effect.
Yes. Multi high.
Yes.
You know.
So where does that have to go?
Olawale is calling us from River State.
Good evening.
Good evening, Wale.
Okay. On the issue of illicit drug, my contribution is that Nigeria as a state has to change its approach to combating this menace. It's not enough to say NDLEA, NAFDAC, and all these things alone. If we are saying women, children are into this, where are their husbands? Where are their fathers? Where is the society? The emir, the local government, even the state government. In states that we have mentioned that this thing is rampant, we've not even seen any effort by the states. These are things everybody has to put hands on deck to check. Not only looking at government or looking at the way to bring in military or something. No.
Wale, our time is fast, friend. Thank you for your contribution.
So I think
way out.
You know, before now, there was even the LDLA were not allowed into the ports, but since this madam took over as
no, it's NAFDAC that were not allowed. NDA has always
NAFDAC, because we are even discussing NAFDAC. Okay. So I'm sorry. Since she took over at NAFDAC,
okay,
you know, she's been piling pressure that they ought to be there. A lot of these things come through the ports. They containerize tramadol and the rest. And tramadol that ought to even be in 50 ml. The Indians will now manufacture it at 250 ml and send to us. And write clearly, that it is meant for export. It is meant strictly for export. 250 ml of tramadol, if ingested,
will kill you.
Now, the customs must do their best. Release the remaining, there are 35 containers of tramadol. Release the rest without delay so that we can destroy. And nobody should stop NAFDAC from being present in the port so that they can identify these containers and then do the needful. They should not stop them. I'm happy when I read that they've been allowed to return to that place. I was happy. And then we should follow up the ban on codeine with the ban on tramadol, rofinol, and the rest of them. Imagine rofinol that is given to people when they want to cut them open. And this youth will be drinking it. Like it's a date drug. Once they give it to a girl, they put it in a bottle of water for a girl. Whatever you do to her, she will never remember. Yes, that was what happened. And they can kill her.
You're not a science student.
If it strike down your brain.
I'm not a science student.
Gentlemen, this is actually not funny.
You want to come to the science classroom.
I'm a science student. I'll start moving with the so-called homologia.
I'll thank you. Adekule, you
say laughing matter.
We are in trouble.
And I would say, Ramadan Kareem to you, and we're counting down.
Ramadan Mubarak. Ramadan Mubarak.
Okay, Ramadan Mubarak. Okay. We're counting down. Friday is there.
Yes.
We're counting down.
Yeah,
GKB.
we are set.
Yoruba will say Miyashi Kabi. All right.
Ramadan Mubarak.
And to all Muslim brothers and sisters out there, we're counting down. And that's it on Journalist Hangout. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast by 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our other platforms showing on the screen. Catch us on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.